In this episode, we'll talk about the Linkstar 24VC edge-lit LED light. The Linkstar 24VC is an edge-lit LED light that actually allows you to change the color from 3000 Kelvin to 5600 Kelvin. So that allows you to essentially work with tungsten-colored light up to daylight. So you have a lot of options there to tune the color to match the circumstances in which you're shooting. Now, what's unique about this is that it is an edge-lit LED panel. What that means is the LEDs sit inside the frame and illuminate a white translucent disc. So you get a nice continuous, very soft light source, which is different from traditional LED panels, which have individual LED bulbs or SMD LEDs, which are the little chip-looking things, and this actually imparts some different characteristics, which are quite nice. So first of all, it eliminates the multi-shadow issues that you get with some traditional LED panels, and the way it does that, of course, is that it's illuminating this disc, which is just one continuous light. So that is a really nice advantage. So you don't have to worry about diffusing the light, which makes you lose a little bit of light output to eliminate those multi-shadow issues. Again, because it has a single large disc that is all illuminated, it is a very soft light source. So it's really good for lighting faces, or I like to use it as a rim light as well. Because most of the surface of the unit emits light, you can work with it in very close, which makes it even softer. So because it's not this huge thing that is imposing and imposes on your frame, you can move it in nice and close for interview and talking head style shots. Another advantage is that this is a floodlight with a wide beam angle, I would guess somewhere around 160 degrees, versus many of the traditional LED panels where the beam angle is actually closer to a spot, somewhere in maybe the 60 degrees in many cases. And the problem with those is you can't make those wider. You can't use them as spotlights unless you bounce them off of something, thereby losing some of the output. In terms of powering the 24VC, you can do it with the included AC adapter, and it pulls about 24 watts, or you can also power with a Sony NPF style battery or a Sony L-mount battery, which are ubiquitous and available almost everywhere at affordable prices. That also seems to put out the same amount of light. Color quality is one of the most important things to me when it comes to lights, and the 24VC does not disappoint. It comes through with very good CRI. It comes through with a CRI of 98 at 3000K setting and about 97 at the 5600 Kelvin setting, the daylight setting. Now, CRI is not the perfect measurement system. It's an indicator, but not perfect. And what I also like to do is that my spectrometer allows me to also measure an additional 7 patches, 3 of which are pretty important to skin tones. And those are patches R9, R13, and R15. And indeed, the Linkstar did well on each of those as well. So overall, I think this renders color very nicely, and it especially does well as far as skin tones are concerned. In terms of green or magenta cast, there is a slight magenta cast when you're set to 3000 Kelvin. It's very, very minor, but not generally a problem in my experience, unless you're going to be mixing with lights that have a green cast to them, where you may see a little bit of a difference. So just something to note, I don't think it's a massive issue. In terms of light output, this comes in at 470 lux, which is actually relatively low, but you have to keep in mind this is a very wide beam angle, so the light's not concentrated like it is on some other panels. You can't use lux to compare light sources unless you take into account also the beam angle. So you have to keep that in mind. Again, my estimate is that this one's about a 160 degree beam angle, which means it's a very wide flood. So that's why you're getting that low reading. But if you're using it for its intended purposes, for soft light, then I don't find that to be a problem. You can very nicely light talking head and interview shots like this. You can use it as an accent light as well, or a small flood if you just need to flood a small area and kind of throw light in all directions. Incidentally, when it is battery powered, the output remains the same based on my measurements. So that's a good sign as well. And while we're on the topic of battery life, we did a little battery test here with a Sony NPF 970 battery. That's a 6300 milliwatt hour battery. And we found that we were able to power this at full power on the daylight setting for 2 hours and 31 minutes, which is actually quite impressive and in fact better than I expected. So that was very, very good. Now again, the battery is not included with this, but you can buy the Sony NPF style batteries all over the place and they're fairly affordable. Also did some flicker tests. Flicker tests are best done when you can use a very fast shutter speed and dim the light some. The trick with that, of course, is that you're not getting a lot of light output, but at the various shutter speeds that I tried here that you're seeing, and at dimming the light down, I was not able to see any sort of flicker. So it looks like they have that pretty well managed here. In terms of build quality, the rim of the light is actually made out of very solid metal plate, and that seems like it'll hold up well. The yoke, likewise, is also a nice metal with what seem like very good quality knobs. The weak point, if there is any, is the control box on the back is plastic. It's a decent but not amazing quality plastic, so that if there is a weak point, that's it. I think if you take care of it and transport it in the included bag, you shouldn't run into any major issues. So overall, build quality-wise, seems good. In terms of uses, my main use for this is actually going to be as a rim light, but also can be used in a pinch if I need to keep the kit really light as a key light as well. For example, in this case, all the talking head parts that I've shown you here is actually used with the light bounced off of a big white poster board, a foam core board, and it's set to the tungsten setting, whereas the lights behind me are set to daylight setting, which is why they appear blue. That's both on the white paper backdrop and the rim light that's wrapping around a little bit here. So that's how you get this particular look. I think this light is really good for situations where you want to light a talking head or interview style shoot. You can also, again, as I mentioned, use it as a rim light, and you can also use it in very tight spaces. If you need to get a small light into a small space, this could be a really good option for you as well. So for example, if you were shooting something in a car scene, it might be pretty useful to get into the dashboard and light your actors that way. One factor when you're purchasing gear of any sort is, what's the support policy look like? What's the warranty? On this, we have a 1-year warranty. And while I didn't need to call tech support, again, because the company sent this to me for review, they did tell me that they do 24-hour turnaround on email support. And so they'll be able to help you via email for technical support if you do run into those issues. So there's a look at the 24VC from Linkstar. Overall, seems like a nice little unit for the price, and it could be a really great starter light. It could also be a nice light to add to your kit, especially in cases when you need to keep things light when you're traveling out to location and things of that nature. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below, and if you have not already subscribed, make sure you do that. Also, if you'd like to be notified when a new episode comes out, go ahead and click the bell icon. We'll talk to you again soon.